my tarot lovelies, it's Ethony. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am doing a video response to Lisa Papez's 21 tarot questions, and I cannot wait to jump in. I will pop all of the questions in the description box and the link to Lisa's original video. Also, let me know if you've done a video response to this in the comments. Pop your link so I can go check it out. I've seen a couple. I haven't watched a lot of them because I wanted to record mine first. So let's jump in and answer these 21 tarot questions. The first question is, what is the tarot deck they will have to pry out of your cold, dead hands? And this was really difficult because I have a number of decks that I would really hold on to, so very hard to choose, but I did choose my trusty Orosoma tarot. If you have been watching me for any amount of time, you'll know that I have the bottle back version. I actually do have just a normal version too with the symbols on the back, but I have this one, and I've done my Orosoma training. I am able to continue to do Orosoma readings and Orosoma work because of this deck. It incorporates a lot of different systems in it. It's got tarot, it's got color therapy, it's got essential oil crystal resonances, it's got the Ascended Masters and angels. So I absolutely love this deck. I've spoken about it a lot, so I'm not going to wax poetic about it again. But this deck you will have to pry out of my cold dead hands because I use it so much. It was very hard to choose because there are quite a few that I will be having for the rest of my life and taking with me forever, I believe. Well, not forever, like when I'm dead, do whatever you want with it, but yes, I will, that I really love. The next question is, what is your guilty pleasure deck? So I don't really have a guilty pleasure deck because I don't feel a lot of guilt about liking a lot of stuff. I'm a massive nerd, so I don't really care what people think if I like something, but what I will say is something that I get a lot of pleasure from is this deck, and actually there's two of them, and they are the Fortune Queens decks. I so hope that there's going to be a third one. This is from Enjoy My Cake. Ooh, I love these decks so freaking much. I have a very long video on my YouTube channel about how much I hated the Drag Race one that came out years ago, but these are exceptional. The quality is amazing. I love every single choice that was made. I really feel like it was done very intentionally. It's playful but relatable in regards to like the fact that it has Rider-Waite-Smith bones. I am a huge drag fan. I'm a huge Drag Race fan. I have watched every episode of every season, probably multiple times. I go and see drag shows all over the place. I travel for them. I see local ones. Like, I love drag. Drag is art. Drag is amazing. And I just love these decks. They're a wonderful deck and they're brilliant quality. I really, really love them. And they're not really guilty pleasures, but they're definitely a pleasure. So I wanted to share them and show them because I don't think I really have on my channel yet, and I wanted to do that with this video, was really show and showcase decks that maybe not necessarily I do all the time. I have read with these. I really, really enjoy reading with them. Super fun. I love them, love them, love them. The third question is, what deck do you wish existed? And that was a really difficult question for me to answer because a lot of decks that I wish were created, I've created myself. The Modern Love was like, okay, I really want a very inclusive new deck that has lots of different forms of relationships and really explores the different facets of relationships, from friendships all the way through to, you know, soulmates. The Modern Love Oracle is, well, if the goddesses were walking around with us right now, what would they look like and how can we work with them in a modern way? The Bad Bitches Tarot was a feminist representation of the tarot in fashion as well. So I've kind of really been very fortunate to explore all that myself. I would love a really good Star Wars deck. Again, massive nerds. I'm sure it's going to come at some point. I don't know if they will, but I love a good Star Wars deck. But I think there's really not much else that I would be like really craving for. The fourth question is, what deck would I recommend to a beginner? So I have a couple of beginners recommendation deck list videos. There's a pretty updated one, and there's also one from quite a few years ago. But really any Rider-Waite-Smith clone, it's easy to read with. There's lots of resources online on them. Most of the content you're going to find is about them. So I have two here that I don't think I've shared before. The first one is the Radiant Wise Tarot by Lo Scarabeo, and it is what it is, you know. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I love the box, and I think it's really well presented, very easy to read, and I would have no problem recommending this to a beginner. The second deck is Jamie Sawyer's 1909 deck. So this is going to go out of print soon. So if you like this version, I would recommend going and getting it from Jamie Sawyer. What I love about this deck is the hidden symbols. And so you're going to be seeing some of them now. You can see there's like some of the pomegranates in some places. Like, you really, if you look in the background of these cards, there's a lot of hidden symbols that relate to the meaning for the Rider-Waite-Smith. So I think she's done a beautiful job with the coloration. I love all of her decks, and this is a deck that I would absolutely recommend for a beginner. But the caveat is, and I say this all the time, you have to really like the deck you work with. So if my recommendations aren't something that you would be like, yeah, I'm down with that, just go with whatever deck you want. Your choice, your tarot practice. The fifth question is, what deck did you want to get along with, but you never quite clicked with it? And I don't actually have this deck with me right now. It's in storage, but I've kept it, which is the Mary L Tarot. And I really wished I could get along with this deck. And maybe I haven't spent enough time with it, but I can't read with it for other people at all. The artwork is stunning and the book is amazing, but I just don't seem to get along with it very well. Maybe it's just not the right time, but I'm keeping it because it's a masterpiece, and maybe the time will come when I do get along with it. The other deck that I really wish I got along with was the Hush Tarot, and this is from US Game Systems and by Jeremy Hush. And the artwork in this deck is so, like, on paper, I should get along with this deck. It is beautiful. The artwork is frickin' stunning. It is so immersive. There is so much going on. It's very fey, hedge witchy, earthy, and I love all of that. Like the Froud deck's another one, actually other ones you could pry out and make whole dead hands. But like, I love that. So in theory, I should be really enjoying it, but I find it very difficult to read with. So unless I'm using it more like an oracle, I actually can't really, I haven't really gelled with it, but beautiful, beautiful deck. The sixth question is, which deck do you keep only for the art? And there are a couple, but this is one I haven't really shared for a long hot minute, which is the Cosmos deck. This is a tarot and oracle deck, and I don't even know if you can get this anymore. So, I mean, you can hate at me all you want, but I wanted to really show this. This is from the Light Grey Art Lab, and I love the Light Grey tarot actually quite a lot. For collaborative decks, it's one of the better. And this is beautiful. It is so gorgeous. It's got pretty much everything I think I would want in a deck. This is just not a deck that I can read with. I find it very difficult to read with it as if it was like a tarot deck. You absolutely could use it as an oracle deck, but I keep it for the art mainly because it is quite exquisite, and it is a lovely sort of journey through the art when you sit down with a nice cup of coffee or tea and go through it. I really enjoy that. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It was a limited run. It did come out a long hot minute ago, but it's definitely one that I keep mostly for the art versus the application. The seventh question is, what deck did you buy because everybody else did? And it's the Wild Unknown. I have got both versions of the indie deck with the book. and I still have them. I haven't released them or sold them or anything, and I'm not quite sure if I'm ever going to do that. I might. I bought that because it was super popular on Instagram, and it still is extremely popular. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Kim's artwork, what she has created, the business of the wild unknown, like everything is phenomenal. I just think it's so beautiful, and I like working with it, like from the appreciating its art, and I love the book. I actually do like the animal one as well. It's more just like I really struggle with minimalistic decks and animal sort of cards, being the major arcana and the minor. I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into it, but everyone was buying it. I bought it. I really enjoyed working with it for the time that I did, but it's just one of those decks now that is not something I would go and reach for to work with on a daily basis. The 8th question is, what deck baffles you or is just over your head? And this one baffles me for a very specific reason. It is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. I have this little edition. This is like the pocket edition, and the big edition of this deck. It is beautiful. I love Raven's Oracle decks. Love them, love them, love them. Got all of them pretty much. But this deck for me is not a tarot deck, and this is why it's in this prompt. Well, it's my answer. It's stunning. It has its own complete system, which I'm not adverse to, but it just baffles me. Like a lot of it, I would really have to take the time to go out of my way to read with it. I use it as an oracle deck. It's not a tarot deck for me. You know, that's just my opinion, but it is really beautiful. I love the art, and so I keep going back to this, and I keep them because I think they're just stunning, but I prefer to use her oracle decks, and I prefer to use this as a oracle deck as well. But as a tarot deck, it baffles me why it's even called a tarot deck. The 9th prompt is, what deck surprised you? And I have to say, this little beauty surprised me so much. I found this in the bargain section at a local bookstore, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I have often said that the Crowley deck, the Thoth deck, is just not my zhuzh because of the artwork. I have got a number of Thoth decks in my collection, and I have a number of Thoth-based decks that I work with a lot. But this is so pretty. I love the modern take on the artwork. I just think it's really beautiful. It's just kind of like a wonderful modern twist that keeps a lot of the, I feel like a lot of the angular color palette of the Thoth deck original, but it kind of makes it more palatable for at least me. I was really surprised by this deck. So if you do come across this, I mean, I would snap it up in a heartbeat because I think it's really great. The 10th prompt is, what deck doesn't really work for you, but you keep it because it's a collectible? And it is the Brady Tarot, the collectible edition. I love everything about this deck in regards to its art, its execution, its book, its design. Stun. I cannot imagine how much work went into creating these cards, and I keep it because it is a collector's edition. I have never worked with it, but it is in my collection. I don't know if I ever will. Again, animal decks are me, not always the easiest to work with as an actual tarot deck, but it could change. But I think it is stunning, and the book is amazing, and so it'll always stay in my collection. But that's my collector's, like, yep, she's there. I'm glad I've got her, but I don't see myself working with her anytime soon. The 11th prompt is, what is your favorite kind of gilding? And I have done some pretty amazing gilding, I have to say. I love the blue hollow for the muses that we did. And I also love hollow decks, so holographic. So I've got a couple. The first one is the Prism Tarot. And it is just so, oh my gosh, it makes my heart so happy. This hollow. Oh, I'm such a freaking magpie. And the other one is from the This Might Hurt special edition. So in that box is a whole bunch of amazing goodies, but this is the Liminal 11 version of the This Might Hurt. And this hollow is a little different. because it feels more like glitter hollow. Anything sparkly is going to get me, but the holographic glittery goodness is definitely one of my favorites. Number 12 is, which deck do you love but you hate the cardstock? And hate's a bit of a strong word. There's been some pretty dodgy cardstock out there. I'm not into the Sugar Skull Tarot cardstock. I hate it. I don't like it. Who decided not to edge them around the edges? I can't. But the other one is the True Heart Intuitive Tarot. It's so bendy. It's so flimsy and thin. It bows so unbelievably well. But I love the images on both of those decks. I think they're so gorgeous. It hasn't ruined it. I mean, like, I'm not going to be that melodramatic. It's a fucking tarot deck. But I don't necessarily love them. It's not like my favorite. Cardstock is cardstock. Every publisher's going to have a choice. Every creator has a choice. Everyone likes different cardstock. So it's not like, I mean, gosh, we don't have to start some big old inquisition about it. But I think those two are probably where I don't like it the most. Like, one super flimsy and the other is just like really thick cardboard that like chips. And those two things kind of annoy me. The 13th prompt is, what deck gives you the willies? And I don't even have a copy of this deck because it does. It is the Deviant Moon Tarot. And just want to say beforehand, everything that Patrick has created is phenomenal. The quality is amazing. I love the little playing card deck. It's just not my thing. The artwork is just not my thing. And sometimes that's art, like, it's subjective. Some of the stuff kind of does give me the willies in a way that I'm just like, I'm uncomfortable. Maybe it's a shadow work deck that I'll work with later on, but it's just not something that I personally vibe with, and that's okay. Those sorts of things give me the willies, but really nothing else kind of does. Or maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but I struggle with the Deviant Moon stuff. It's just an artistic choice. But again, the amount of amazing creative work that Patrick has created is phenomenal. I've heard the big books are incredible. It's just more of a working relationship with that deck that I have. Well, I don't have. The 14th prompt is, what is your favorite deck for shadow work? And I have two. One is the Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot. I love this deck. It just allows me to go places that I want to go with my shadow work. Some of the cards are really confronting and I kind of love that, but I love Anna's artwork, and I love Avalon's, I love everything about this deck. I've spoken about it many times. I'm looking forward to the Tarot of Echoes, as well as I think it's going to work really well with the Oracle of Echoes. And the other one that I really like to work with is the Stolen Child Tarot. And this is by Monica Knighton, and her work is so gorgeous. Her artwork is stunning. I actually have the limited run that she did many years ago, and this is just beautiful. And why I've chosen this for shadow work is the child in nature. So a lot of shadow work can also be about inner child work and healing the inner child, and that is a lot of work. And this Stolen Child Tarot really gets us into this animalistic, very base place. It can get you to work on like a lot of child abandonment or child wounds you might have. It's pretty intense if you're working with it in that way, but it is also a wonderful shadow work deck. It's a wonderful inner child deck, and it is also just beautiful. So it's a very deep deck for me. It's not one I see a lot of people talking about, but Monica's work is completely stunning and I really love it. The 15th question is, what deck do you love in theory but not in practice? And it is the Star Spinner Tarot. I know, shock fucking horror. I really wanted to like this deck. I really wanted to like this deck. And I struggle so hard with it. I don't know if it is the color choices, like the way that the color has been used in the cards, but I believe that's probably what it is. I love the designs. I love the base designs of them. but it's just the color blocking or something. I don't understand. I can't click with it. I love that there's multiple lovers cards. I love the box. It's all shiny if you've got a copy of this deck. I should love this deck more than I do. I'm not going to get rid of it because I do want to work with it. And there are some cards I really like in here. Even the colors, I think they're a great match. But there are others that it's just like, it's jarring to my poor brain. And yeah, it's in theory, I should love it. In practice, it's just not gelling with me. The 16th question is, what tarot deck would you never use to read for someone else? And this is, never is it's a pretty strong word, so I don't think it will be never, but it's the Spirit Keepers Tarot by Burnaby. And I have this edition and I have her color edition. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's not the Vitruvian, it's something else. But I have multiple copies like of this, like I've got this edition and the other edition as well. And I don't know, I've spoken so much about this deck and Burnaby and her work. And the reason why I wouldn't read with this for other people is I don't know it as well as I would want to know a deck to read with other people. It's not because I just like it or whatever. It's just I use this deck for myself. I use this deck for learning. I use this deck for studying. And I use this deck to really challenge my tarot knowledge. So right now I wouldn't use it with reading other people. I have used it for Oracle Wednesdays and sort of other, things like that, or little mini readings, but I wouldn't sit down in a session and do it because for me, I'm kind of, my Virgo rising comes out, it wants to know all the symbols and all the things, so I get really stuck in that. So maybe later on in life when I have got more of a handle on it. The 17th question is, what is the deck that you wouldn't use for yourself? And there really kind of isn't one, but I wouldn't really read a lot of my own decks for my own readings. Now, if I have a situation where I really need to get a reading, I am going to go book with a colleague or a friend or someone or a reader that I know is very, very good, because I want to get a different perspective. That's the whole fucking reason why I'm going, right? But if I want to just do like a quick pull or whatever, I will probably use a different deck, a deck that's not mine, because I spent so much time, creating every card scope, like every symbol, everything. I would just feel like I know it too much, or I'm too familiar with it in order to get a good reading for myself. But I do read with them. It's just like I will go to somebody else if I really need to get a tarot reading, if that makes sense. The 18th question is, what is the deck that you could just not bring yourself to buy? And it is the Macabre Tarot by Sam West. And a lot of people love this deck, and I will say, box design, flawless. Love when you opened it, that it made the noise. Love that it looked like a coffin. I really, really, really wanted to like this deck. Like, really wanted to like this deck. Kind of really just wanted it for the box, but then I just went out and got a coffin box from somewhere else. The issue with me is I just cannot connect with the images. They are too simplistic for me, and too, I guess it's just too minimalist without enough kind of juice. It feels very light for a macabre deck. If I'm really going to go there to the place where the Macabre Tarot I feel was trying to go, I would go with the Marigold Tarot, or go to another shadowy, bony deck. For me, this is kind of like shadow work, but diet shadow work. And I'm not trying to like slam Sam. I've got other decks by Sam West. I love their art. I think they're very, very talented. It's just, I'm not the target ideal audience. I don't think, I think this is for someone who's like, that's a cool deck and it looks fun and it's kind of an entry level to this sort of work, and that has its place. It's just not for me. The 19th question is, what is your favorite pip deck? And I have a few pip decks that I really like. I couldn't find one that I wanted to share with you, which is the oh my goodness, the Seventh Sphere Tarot by the Labyrinthos. I can't say it. Labyrinthos. Yeah. I don't know how to say it. but I do really think it is really, really beautiful. I love the finish on it all. I love the cardstock, and I also really like the squid cake Marseille. I just got it and I shared it recently. It's so cute. I love the design of all of it, and it's really fun. I do work with pip decks sometimes. I do read Marseille sometimes. It's just not my go-to, but those are two that I really enjoy. The 20th question is, what deck slaps you in the face with truth? And I had to kind of think about this for a minute because I've worked with quite a few, but it had to be my trusty Morgan Greer, which is retired. She's retired right now. But I have done so many readings with this deck. I've spoken about it before, but it is definitely the deck that I go to if I don't want to... if I don't want it sugar-coated, I'm going to go to her. And maybe that's more the vibe of this, right? Because I have done so many readings with this deck, I have a bond with it, so I know it's going to give me the truth. So yeah, that's probably the deck that I would go to if I wanted to be slapped in the face. The other one that I really like is the Bonfire Tarot a lot. It's a really wonderful deck, and I love Gabby's work. So those two decks are definitely ones that I go, yeah, okay, they've got the vibe of like giving me a bit of a slap. And the 21st question is, what is the deck that got away? And this one hurts my soul. Forgive me while I read it off of a piece of paper because this title is really long. Madame Lydia Welmhein's Tarot of Monsters, the Macabre and Autumn Scenes. I am bummed out beyond belief that I missed out on this deck. I have been looking on tarot, like Facebook groups and all sorts, like for decks that are for sale that I don't need to sell a kidney for. I have yet to find one. I feel like it would just be the perfect deck for shadow work for me. Oh, I want it so bad. I'm so bummed. I'm so bummed. If you ever hear of anyone selling it, hit me up, let me know, because I really want it. But that is like the deck right now that's on the top of my unicorn decks. Like if you're like the decks that I got that got away that I really am coveting, it's Madame Lydia Welmhein's Tarot of Monsters, Macabre and Autumn Scenes. One day, you sweet thing, you will be mine. That is my 21 question response, and thank you to Lisa for putting this together. As I mentioned, all the questions are going to be in the descriptions, and if I used any decks that you can get, I'll pop the links as well next to the questions and the deck that I used or showed. And let me know in the comments if you did a VR to this or what you feel, or if you want to answer any questions in the comments. You know, as I've said before, any comment that you can give, any like, really helps my channel. It takes a moment as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.